Welcome back to the Daily Drum on WHUR and Sirius XM Channel 141. This is the Insight segment. I'm Harold Fisher. A special election is taking shape in Prince George's County with, until today, a dozen people vying to be the next county executive. Well, tonight we continue our look at the various candidates and why they believe they should get your vote. My guest is no stranger to the county or the politics. Calvin Hawkins serves as an at-large county council member, and he wants to be the new leader for the nearly 1 million residents. Councilmember Hawkins, thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you for having me.
Sure thing. As I said just a moment ago, until today, there were a dozen candidates vying to be the next county executive. As you probably already know, our council chair, Jolene Ivey, has dropped out of the race for county executive. What is your reaction to that?
That's very alarming. She's a very competitive elected official. And until I have a chance to speak directly with her, I'm at a loss for words. We just saw each other yesterday during the council hearing, and she shared about her commitment to winning, and I shared with her about my commitment to winning this race. So to hear today that she's no longer in the race is alarming, and I hope whatever reasons for her decision, that she's well and her family's well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I can't
go ahead, Harold, because I assure you, up until you shared that, I was a little taken back. I had been hearing about it, but I didn't know if it was true or not.
Yes, she had posted it on social media that she was stepping out for personal and financial reasons, but did not give any other reason beyond that. I do want to talk about some of the other news of the day. As you know, the DMV has been hit with a rather serious snowstorm, and last night Prince George's County residents were not happy at the way that the county performed in snow removal. From your perspective, how did the county do this time around? Obviously, it's not as cold now as it was last month, but there was still a significant amount of snow that fell in the area, in the region.
Yeah, I will tell you, I've driven around since this morning throughout the county. I'm very pleased with the work the men and women have done to respond to this last snowstorm. And like you said, the one in January was below freezing. It was ice, and we did a horrible job in our response. But this time they did an exceptional job. Harold, I just want to say, 30 years ago, when I started with the county government in 1996, I worked for the Department of Public Works, and I was out there with the blizzard of 96. So I had a little empathy for what they went through a couple of weeks ago. I don't make an excuse for them, but I can only imagine the challenges they dealt with last time. But fortunately, our residents are pleased with the outcome of this snow response, and hopefully our men and women will continue to rise to the occasion as we move forward and complete the winter season we're in.
Yeah. I was not in the area in 96. The one that I remember was the winter storm in 79 when I was a kid, and that was probably the most severe that I can actually remember. I remember people having T-shirts that said "I survived the winter of 79." I remember my father and my neighbors walking from our home on Havelock Road in Lanham all the way out to Whitfield Chapel Road and all the way down to Annapolis Road to the 7-Eleven to get supplies. So that was rough.
That was.
Obviously, this not as bad, but you just never know how nature is going to treat us. So, hopefully the residents are happy with what they've seen so far.
They see black pavement, so we're in a good space. We're in a good place.
Okay. I do want to talk about some of the politics about where we are right now. Everyone needs money, and there's not a whole lot of it to go around. The state is facing a $3 billion deficit. The county is tens of $1 millions in the red. If you were to be elected, how would you get Prince George's County out of this financial hole?
I'm glad you asked that question. As a current council member, we are preparing to work with the executive branch to address the budget forecast, and right now I believe it's a $178 million structural deficit. But I want to say first and foremost, we have a legal responsibility to pass a budget that has a
Council member, I think we lost you briefly. You were talking about the legal obligation of addressing some of the budget shortfalls. Please make that point.
Yes, I was saying that we legally have to pass a balanced budget, and having been serving as a current council member, I would get a firsthand look at the challenges of our fiscal budget. And as a result, we have an opportunity to look at where the funding is, where we have to make cuts. And for me, my three concerns are how we be prudent, how we look at what's the necessity of what we need to do, how we do government services, how we deal with our infrastructure, how we give our regulatory agencies the support they need to keep our economy moving. And once we get past that, any additional funding we can use to assist or some of the fat, then we'll use it. But right now, I don't see how we get around just doing the basics. Making sure we're delivering services, make sure we have our infrastructure in place, and that's our streets, neighborhoods, our lighting, and all of that, even the trash removal. To make sure we get the basics done, and then we can expand into some of the things where we can help other organizations to do what they do each and every day.
Is there any fat?
Based on the projection, there isn't, but I'm saying once we reach that balanced budget, if there's any excess funding or revenue that we could use to assist our community and some of the nonprofit organizations, we will.
Mm. Um,
So fat may not have been a good term to use. We're going to balance the budget, and we're going to be prudent, at least Calvin Hawkins will be, on how we deal with where we make our cuts and everything.
well,
I think
I'll
that's
give.
the point I was trying to get at.
Yeah, and I'll give you the fat part. There some places are leaner than others. You know, I wouldn't debate the semantics. Yes, there are some places that are leaner than others. And you talked about some of the priorities, certainly. But if you were to be, elected outside of the foundational stuff, roads, police, schools, etc., what would you have something new that you would like to do, if at all, or is it just trying to make sure that things stay financially stable?
I think one of the initiatives that I would put in place is I believe we need to set up organization to assist our nonprofits, a standalone office like we have with our employment, Prince George's. I believe if we have a standalone office, we can do what we need to do with the nonprofits and take it away from our county government hands. And lastly, is one other thing I will put in place, an office that deals directly out of the office of the county executive with the issues impacting our seniors and veterans. I think we definitely need an office that address the issues impacting our seniors, because sitting on the county council, I've learned they have a multiple of issues that we are not dealing with, from from Medicare to what we're dealing with them on the food side, and even on just providing them with opportunities to get out and be as mobile as possible. We have to have someone that's very concerned and very concentrated and directly looking at how to deal with senior issues. And we got the highest population of veterans throughout the state, and the number of veterans who are homeless, or as they say, without housing, is something that really bothers me.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about one of the issues that is bothering a lot of people, not just Prince Georgians, but across the DMV. As you know, in Prince Georgians, you've got a lot of government workers who are facing the possibility of losing their jobs as a result of the Trump administration and DOJ uh, putting a hold on hiring, offering government workers an opportunity to resign, a buyout, as it were. How are you communicating with your constituents concerning the fear and uncertainty that surrounds where we are right now?
And to tell you, my sensitivity to it, having family members and friends in Prince George's County who are federal workers and don't know whether if they go in tomorrow or the next day or even today, they will have a job. Speaking with our United States Senator Angela Alsobrooks, she and Senator Van Hollen are having a meeting tonight to address those very concerns. We're going to follow up with a meeting Sunday, and we have begun advertising to invite federal workers and federal contractors who are in Prince George's County to come and talk with us about some of the concerns. We're not just going to have U.S. Senator Angela Alsobrooks. We also will have State Senator Nick Charles as a part of the discussion, so that we can really get into how these federal decisions are not just impacting the county, but how it's impacting the state.
Can you tell me real quick before I take a really short break about that Sunday event? Is it in person? Is it virtual? How can people find out more about it?
It's virtual. Right now, they can go on to calvinhawkins.org or Calvin Hawkins for Prince George's County Executive. There's a flyer, invitation, how you register and everything. But it's going to be a very meaningful and important conversation, not only to give some direction and some information, but give people hope that we are going to make it through this, and that, this is real serious. As a matter of fact, Harold, I have legislation right now to create a moratorium on foreclosures, because the number of individuals who are going through some, especially our federal workers, we want to be with them, be there for them, not just talking, but doing things that practically support them while they're going through this transition.
Hold that point. I want to hear more about that, but I need to take a really quick break. And don't forget, you can hear this in every edition of the Daily Drum Insight segment via podcast on WHUR.com. The original Quiet Storm with Raheem Devon is next on WHUR. I'm Harold Fisher. This conversation continues on Sirius XM, channel 141 and 96.3 HD2 in just a few seconds. Welcome back to the Daily Drum on Sirius XM Channel 141. I'm Harold Fisher. We continue our conversation with at-large council member from Prince George's County, Calvin Hawkins. He is a candidate for Prince George's County Executive. A special election is taking place next month. The primary is in March. There is some news, obviously, today where one of the candidates, Jolene Ivy, the council chair, dropped out of that race, leaving only 11 candidates, only 11, vying for the county executive position in Prince George's County. Before the break, Councilmember Hawkins, you were talking about legislation that you're working on regarding foreclosures for federal government workers who may be on the chopping block because of the Trump administration's push to reduce federal government numbers. Tell me a little bit more about how that might work. How will that foreclosure legislation work?
Right now, I don't know the extent that we can, whether it's 6 months or a year, we're going to push it so that they have some level of protection while they're going through this period. Again, we don't want anybody to abuse it, but we're looking at how we can help those federal workers get through these changes and challenges. And it would also give us an opportunity to maybe find funding and work with the the landlords and everyone else to see how we can be sensitive in this time and helping our federal workers who just want to work every day, and now they're caught up in this political situation through the executive orders our president is putting forth.
Let's talk about the position itself. Beyond political ambition, and we know that elected officials often have political ambitions, but beyond that, why would you want to be county executive? Nice office, but it's there's certainly a load to carry with the responsibility of that office.
Yes, and I certainly didn't expect the level of federal consequences that are occurring as a result of the executive orders our president is putting forth and signing. I should say to you, coming from a community like Glass Manor in Oxon Hill to where I sit now as a two-term county council member, two-term council chair, and living through the last 30 years of this county, I just believe the pivotal moment we are now engaged gives me a very good opportunity to use those 30 years of not just 30 years of experience, but the connections I've made throughout this county government as well as the region and state to bring this county together in a way that we could begin to, we will continue to reach our full potential. You know, to have 14, Harold, to build 14 schools in 6 years and give our teachers the kind of resources and the kind of professional training that will help them even more educate and inspire our young scholars. It means something to me coming from Glass Manor, going to all the county public schools and just knowing that I could be a part of the transformation of our young people while ensuring seniors feel safe in their community. And lastly, I see an opportunity to do some of the things that former county exec Wayne Curry thought about when he was county exec and didn't get a chance to fulfill, as far as how we build an economic development portfolio that's competitive with Montgomery County. Many would say, oh, that's too far-fetched. But Harold, you've been around long enough. If you look at how the District of Columbia was 20 years ago, you dare not drive through there in those communities. You look at it now, the transformation is just amazing. But it took courage, it took vision, and it took commitment and collaboration. And those four things I reference are who I am. I believe in communicating. I believe in collaborating. I
Council member, we did have a brief technical issue, so I wanted to move on to another issue. When you look at your kind of strategy, if you were to be elected county executive, how do you believe your leadership would differ from those who have held the position before? And what do you believe sets you apart from those who are currently running?
My leadership, compared to my predecessors, again, I'm someone that has an easy ability or to work with others and collaborate. I'm a collaborator. I lead when I need to, but I understand the importance of a team concept to get us where we need to go in Prince George's County. My 30 years of serving in Prince George's County, one of the things I observed and witnessed with our previous county executives is their ability to work with people and as well as their inability to work with people. I believe that's where my most outstanding characteristic is the ability to work with people and go across lines and work with everyone. And what distinguishes me from the other individuals running is my 30 years of services. I know this county government. I know every agency in this county government. I know the people who run these agencies, and I have personal relationships with them to get the necessary information I need to make sound decisions to move our county forward.
Mm-hmm. We've already spoken about the budget issues, not just in Prince George's, but in the state. So from your perspective, what do you think is the biggest challenge facing the county, and how might you address it in your first 100 days or even your first year?
I think there's really three things. I think is the looming budget deficit, which we spoke about earlier. I believe the perception that we're dealing with an increase in crime, when in fact the numbers show that our crime are decreasing. We got to deal with the perception of crime, and I believe the current police chief, the sheriff, and the other public safety leaders have a handle on it. We just have to see the results where people believe they are safe. A senior citizen feels safe going out in the evening to get her mail from her mailbox. A single parent feels comfortable going to the store and not getting carjacked. So those are real issues we'll have to tackle. And lastly, economic development is one of the major issues. We've done a lot in economic development, but there's a sense that we're moving in the wrong direction with some of our legislation that presents us as anti-business, anti-development. We can't survive in Prince George's County without development, because that is where the money comes from to do the things we need. As you may know, Harold, we are 70% residential tax base and a 30% commercial tax base. We can't keep building off the backs of our residents if we want to get the world-class community we desire.
Do you think the county has a perception problem, a PR issue? And if so, how might that be addressed?
I believe, notwithstanding the tremendous work of our former county executive and now our United States Senator, it is that perception, and whether it's a reality or just like you said, a perception, we have to change it, and we have to have a marketing strategy that addresses it, overcomes it, and recruits individuals to come to Prince George's County to open their businesses, to do development here, while ensuring that we're transparent and we're working closely with our communities to ensure that they support the economic development that we're bringing to the county. But it's important that from a public relations standpoint, that we get that message across.
You spoke just a moment ago about what some of those challenges are, particularly as it relates to that 70/30 residential business tax base. So, what's your pitch to businesses that would that you believe would convince them to come to the county?
It's really a simple response to your question, believe it or not. First, we have to change our permit process. Right now, working with our Washington Suburban Sanitation Committee, our Maryland National Capital Park and Planning, as well as our own Department of Permits, Inspection, and Enforcement. Those three agencies are key to how we bring businesses here. We got to go from the 6 to 7 year process to get permits and finish a project to be competing with the region and have it down to 24 months. And we can do that, but we have to get those three entities on board. And once we do that, businesses will see that we're open for business, but more importantly, that our public safety component is in line to show that crime is not the issue. And Harold, you know this, businesses come where there's a great public education system, and that's why we are so aggressively pursuing reventing, revising, re-imaging our public school system to the 14 schools we built over the last 6 years, the kind of resources and professional training we're offering to our educators so they'll have what it needs to educate and inspire our scholars. When you are a 24 public school system and you're 22, 23, 24, you know, that's a challenge, but we're working to overcome those challenges to move us up so that when businesses come here, they can say to their employees, hey, there's a public school system that's worthy of your kids participating in. So that's the challenges we face, I believe, and those are the challenges we have to overcome. And we have the opportunity to do it considering where we are. We're the only place in this region that still has undeveloped land that we can move businesses and increase our business portfolio by inviting them to come here. But we got to get those things in order: education, public safety, and how we deal with the permit process.
Let's talk a little bit about something that has been a long-standing conversation: the lack of high-end places to shop and to eat. How do you address that when and balance it with the tastes of the residents? A lot of them who make higher incomes, they have a tendency to go to Northern Virginia or all the way into DC to sit and eat. How do you address that?
I've had the opportunity, not just for the 30 years I've been in the county government, but the last 6 years, to really see the question you asked up close. I've gone with our economic development team, former county exec Angela Alsobrooks, and others to places to recruit restaurants and high-end retail businesses to our county. Each year, many of us go out to the International Shopping Center convention in Las Vegas to speak to, recruit, and encourage those businesses to come here. But they don't come. It's not because, like you said, we have the means, the financial means to support it, but it's this mindset that they don't want to come to Prince George's County. And like my predecessor, Angela Alsobrooks, I believe we have a responsibility to be the principal cheerleader to welcome those individuals. Because, we didn't have Whole Foods. Now we do. We are trying to get Nordstrom and others to come here. But the portfolio they're looking for on our end, we have to continue to build to give them the incentive to come here, because we have the funding, we have the clientele that can support them. And as you may know, Wegmans came here, and it's one of the highest grossing Wegmans in the country. Whole Foods, and I can go on with some of the stores that are doing well. We just got to continue to be disciplined in how we approach it, because while they are not coming, we have to offer them reasons why they should come. And again, that's continue to build our public school system while ensuring that our public safety components are such that people believe it's safe to come to Prince George's County. And lastly, to make sure our process to get them here is swift, timely, and efficient, and that the citizens support what we're bringing.
If indeed there has been a drop in a crime almost completely across the board, we've seen that in Prince George's County. We've also seen that, for example, in the District of Columbia, for example. And so we know that these things are certainly happening. But from your perspective as a prospective leader in the county, what would be the next steps to make those numbers go down more? What kind of conversations have you had with the police chief and sheriff's department, particularly as it relates to juvenile crime?
Because of our budgetary situation, we haven't been able to give our sheriff and his team everything they need to do what they need to do, as well as our police departments now, like 400 something officers. One thing we have to do, Harold, is ensure that we change how we deal with recruitment of police officers. Right now, Washington, D.C. gives a $25,000 incentive to their new recruits. Montgomery County gives $20,000. Fairfax, $15,000. We only give $10,000. I will go into our rainy day fund to ensure that we are giving officers who come here $25,000 to compete with DC. We plan to change how we recruit police officers. Right now, it's in our human resources department. The police department needs to handle it. And once again, we gotta lower the time it takes from the time we recruit an applicant to the time he or she becomes a sheriff, a member of the sheriff department, a member of our county police. We have to change that time from almost 28 to 32 months and get it down with the standard that's in the region around 14 months. But again, I will continue to listen to our police chief, our fire chief, and our sheriff to work with them to get them what they need to address what's going on in our county, specifically juvenile crime. We people keep saying, "Oh, y'all too hard." I don't think we're hard enough on juvenile. For me, I think they need to be, if they're caught doing something, I believe they need to be detained and worked with in a contained environment to see how we can help them, whether it's alternative education, creating a vocation, putting them in a vocation program. But if they repeat offenders, I don't think they should be out in our community, because innocent, law-abiding citizens should not have to be criminalized or be the victim of young people who have yet to understand the importance of responsibility. I believe they should be. Once the police, what we are dealing with, honestly, is a catch and release reality in Prince George's County. Our officers lock them young people up. And again, they are innocent until proven guilty. I understand that. But we can't keep letting these individuals who are repeat offenders continue to come back into the community. Their repeat actions are saying to all of us that they need help. They need help. The help they are seeking is to create more crimes. We have the means through social workers, through all those therapists we have that we are paying to say, wait a minute, let's work with this young guy, let's work with this young girl to see what the symptom, we know the symptoms, but what's the underlying reality? Until we make that kind of commitment, we're not going to decrease crime. And the police officers can't do it by themselves. It's a responsibility of our community. And some of our parents need to become more engaged in their children, in the lives of their children, if we're going to address it. And I'll be a very active county executive in pursuing and engaging on the issues that I raised that I believe will help us curtail the juvenile crime. It's not just our police officers. We as elected officials and as a community have a responsibility, I believe, to help with this issue.
Let's talk a little bit about housing. One of the other issues that a lot of county residents have is too many townhomes. Why so many townhouse developments? Why more single family homes or maybe even condo developments? What is your feeling about that?
Believe it or not, we build more single family homes than we do townhomes. But the perception is we have an epidemic of construction of townhomes, and that's just not the case. We build more single family homes. But I do believe as we move forward, we can look at that. But townhomes have been the option for many of our up and coming professionals just getting out of their, just starting their professional careers. Mm-hmm. That has been a means for them to begin and even begin starting their families. So I support townhomes. I don't support a proliferation of townhomes, but I support them as a means of affordable housing and giving our young professionals a chance to pursue their career in having affordable housing. Because houses in Prince George's County are off the chain as far as the prices. And I want to say one last thing about it. Now, earlier last year, or in the middle of last year, I fought hard because there was legislation to say townhomes and multifamily homes can only be built inside the Beltway, the older communities. And I think that is just unacceptable. I think townhomes should have people who want to build townhomes should have the opportunity to build them anywhere in the county if approved. But I don't think that they should be just in the inner Beltway, because the taxes from those townhomes will help the entire county.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm good.
And to that point, obviously, townhomes, depending on, of course, location, would be cheaper than single family homes. And obviously you want people to come to the county. And so again, how do you balance young professionals who are looking to own their first homes, new or otherwise, but are still finding it a bit of a financial impediment to move to Prince George's County?
And that's where we need more affordable housing that's not market price, but gives them not just young professionals, young police officers just starting their career, firefighters. We have to give incentives to these young people through affordable housing measures to come and help grow our economy, because if you get them living in communities, whether they're teachers or other young professionals, police officers, firefighters, or other law enforcement, public safety officials, you create the sense of community that we require. But working with affordable housing, I'm going to say experts, we're going to tackle that issue, because again, we have a lot of vacant buildings that we turn over to surplus property. I believe we can renovate them, and even if they're not townhomes, but condos, to help with affordable housing. I'm not going to call it a crisis, but I'm going to call it an epidemic.
Yeah. And one would argue, and you know this as well, those inside the Beltway communities that are really bordering the District of Columbia have become very, very expensive because you have other people who are moving in these older homes, the brick and stone homes, the homes that some of which are 60, 70 years old. And so a lot of people have been, kind of priced out. When you talk about incentives, and this will be kind of my final question, uh, how do you does the county have a vehicle, or do you have an idea about first time home buyers for anywhere, but in particular, those border communities where people really, really want to live without hurting the tax base?
Mhm. I believe that's a very important question. First time home buyers program we had that came federal government from the federal government through the state to us. But with the current president, I'm not sure if that will continue. But we plan to model that program and put county funds, even in the midst of this fiscal crisis, county funds in there, because getting the kind of professionals you reference in this first time home buyers program will eventually build our economy, but also stabilize our communities. And that's what we need, especially along the borders. Many of them probably work in the District of Columbia and they want to be that close. They got yards and it's a kind of, ideal home they can live in. So when you speak about what I'm going to do my first 100 days, that's one of the commitments I've made, that first time home buyers program will be reestablished with local funds, county funds, to ignite interest from those young professionals you referenced, because we need them again to help stabilize some of those older communities along the Washington corridor or the Washington border.
Prince George's County Council member and county executive candidate Calvin Hawkins, thank you so much. I appreciate your patience and when we were trying to get rid of some of these technical issues, but I'm glad you hung in there with us so that you can get the word out. We will certainly be in touch. Thank you so very, very much.
Thank you, Harold, and have a great evening. I appreciate you, and thanks for all you do in getting the word and the information out to your listening audience.
Thank you. That is the Daily Drum for this Wednesday, February 12th. I'm Harold.